Alright. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. We've had big news the other day. I've been busy doing Pigfest, and I only just found out about this absolutely astounding news last night, and I literally fell out of my seat when I saw it. I've got up today, and before I'm casting another day of Pigfest, I was like, I've got to talk about this. The map pool has gone up to 9 maps. We've just had a post from Blizzard saying, hey, we're putting all these balance changes we've been talking about on the public test realm server so anyone can test it. You can go into your Battle.net launcher, change that from StarCraft 2 to public test realm, download it there and practice. And it's kind of like a version of Battle.net where the ladder runs with all the changes. I'm probably not going to play on that much. I'm probably just going to keep using custom game mods to do the same thing. But what was more important is when you scroll down past all the balance changes, they also have said, oh, by the way, check it out. Here's the new map pool. They not only brought in 2v2, 3v3, 4v4 new maps, which there has been some drama about. We'll get to that. But there are 9 maps in the 1v1 map pool. And this is absolutely insane because I believe Rotterdam was at the head of this movement. A lot of people have been asking for this for so many years. We've said 7 map pools, seven pool map pools suck. There is a whole bunch of reasons. They can be imbalanced. There's lack of variety. You can't squeeze crazy maps into it without hurting tournament results. And you end up with a map getting vetoed every single time it gets played. It just doesn't come out until you get to the grand finals of a tournament. It's a best of 7. There's no vetoes, and it decides a grand finals, a map that nobody has played on all season long, and it decides an entire tournament. This has happened so many times, and it has driven me crazy. And I always assumed there was some Blizzard excuse because they'd always kind of been like, oh, we can't do it because of something or other. I don't think they ever had a real reason for it. I always thought they were like, we can't change, there's something detailed in the code, Battle.net only supports 7 maps. And you know what we found out recently? One of the recent map pools, they accidentally left Beckett Industries in the map pool when they were rotating it. Literally, they clicked a button wrong when they were changing the maps, and we had an 8-map pool for a while on the ladder until they fixed it. And we were like, wait, we can have that? We can have more than 7 maps? Why? Why haven't we done that before? What the hell is going on? And it seems like they've decided, oh yeah, actually we could do that. We're going to put 9 new maps in. And we're like, what? Why did this not happen earlier? This solves so many problems. This solves so many problems. We have a point from Twitch chat. They say, but it costs more to produce maps. That does sound like something Blizzard would say. But guess what? Blizzard doesn't make the maps. Team Liquid sponsors the map competition to pay money prizes out to map makers, all run by the community. And they just click the button to go live. In fact, the entire drama around the team game maps is that they're not using those community maps that are meant to be better. A lot of these are apparently old maps made by Blizzard that aren't as good as a lot of the recent TLMC maps for team games that are apparently a lot better. And I don't know too much about that, but we'll get into that in a little bit. I've already sent a lot of messages off saying we should definitely be using community maps. That seems to be the sentiment in the team game community. We should do it. So anyway, what's the big deal? Why is 9 maps so important? Let's friggin' talk about this. Let's friggin' talk about this, okay? All right, so one of the biggest reasons why having 7 map pools sucks is the 2019 WCS Global Finals. Leading into this tournament, the Nidus had been buffed. The Nidus, for a period, was completely unkillable when it was popping. It was cheaper, and it was just insane. They then nerfed it, but it still was super cheap. It had crazy armor, so you could barely kill it when it was popping. And this all combined with the fact that the Nidus, it not only had that problem, but it also was on a map pool that was absolutely cracked for Nidus worms. World of Sleepers, Winter's Gate, Triton, Thunderbird, Ephemeron, Disco Bloodbath, and Acropolis. These maps, at least 3 or 4 of these, were completely broken for Nidus Swarmos. Like, completely broken. Now, some of you might remember the grand finals this year was Dark vs. Raynor. Nidus Swarmos was so OP, Dark even used it in Zerg vs. Zerg. You are not meant to be able to use Nidus Swarmos in ZVZ. It is a troll build. But Thunderbird was such a ridiculous map, it actually worked. So this map was completely ridiculous. I mean, this was just wild. This map was absolutely friggin' crazy because you had so many areas you could pop up locusts, and it took the ground army so long to get to the Nidus worm, and by the time they got there, there was a Nidus in a different spot, throwing locusts across cliffs and ledges, and it was so disgusting. So check this out. Just to look at the map, you can see down here is the base. Walls off with minerals there, so they can Nidus anywhere over here, and you can't get to it till you take these minerals down. And they could also Nidus here, or all the way up here, which would take like a literal, 45 seconds, if not more, to get out there, and they could throw locusts right into your natural. Super broken. What's another map? Let's look at a few others. We've got a Disco Bloodbath. Another map. Your main base is here. They can Nidus here and hit your main base. And it'll take you a minute to get there from your natural. So we had both something that got buffed to be way too strong and a bunch of maps that were super overpowered for it. Now, of course, one of our favorite players is Rogue, guys. Rogue is one of the most abusive Zergs of all time, and he took massive advantage of this. He destroyed everybody with Nidus Swarmos. Neeb looked like a friggin' beast going into this tournament, and he fought really hard to try and survive, but he just got Nidus Swarmos repeatedly. Rogue just threw endless Swarm hosts at him. And remember, for those who don't know, there was a famous interview, I believe it was about 3 months before this, where Rogue had done really well at the start of 2019, end of 2018, and he'd taken a bit of a break. He'd been kind of inactive, falling out of GSL early, and people were like, hey, what's going on? And then he came back. I think it was GSL Season 3 before this tournament. And people were like, where have you been? What's going on? And he's like, yeah, I wasn't that excited to play. But then I watched some games and looked at the balance changes, and I realized that Zerg is so broken that you literally can't lose if you just abuse like Nidus Worm and a few of the other things that are super broken. So I decided to log on, and I practiced for a week, and I won GSL. So he was just killing people so disgustingly. He was so blatant. He was just like, yeah, this is it's really easy to be Zerg right now. It was this crazy. He was so blatant, and everyone was very angry, kind of oh, he's so dirty, and everyone was really upset because we're like, man, what a hype killer he is. So he kept spamming this out, right? In this one, he did it in a later game here against Neeb on Thunderbird, the super OP map. And I specifically, a few weeks out from this tournament, I remember having a panic attack because it kind of dawned on me that they weren't going to patch the Nidus before the World Championship happened. And I was like, and I started messaging people immediately, Blizzard people, other casters, and I was like, guys, is there a patch coming through? Like this needs to get nerfed. There is no way this championship, we cannot run a World Championship Grand Finals. I say we, they. Obviously, Blizzard was in control, not me. I was like, well, as a community, no one wants to watch a Nidus Swarm host fest for an entire World Championship. And I remember they were like, well, we can't test it and make sure there aren't bugs. We don't want to risk breaking anything. And I'm like, the game is broken right now. You're going to risk fixing it. The only risk is leaving it as it is ensures it will be a Nidus Swarm host fest, especially every ZVP. And if you don't fix it, yes, if you do fix it, there's a small risk something breaks. It won't be as bad as this. And I remember, I think it was Rotterdam who said, well, actually, we could just use a previous season's map pool. And for whatever reason, Blizzard was like, it has to be the current ladder maps. We cannot use other ones, even though we know these are imbalanced and unfair. And we also are too afraid to do a proper nerf to the Nidus or anything like that. And we're like, oh, what the hell, man? So I remember around this point, I became aware of the fact that Roddy for a while had been saying, hey, why don't we have bigger map pools, 9 or 11 maps? And then if there's a few maps that are a bit extreme for a strategy like this, you've all got more vetoes. It's a best of 3 or best of 5. The Protoss can veto all the super overpowered Nidus Swarm host maps. It's still going to give an advantage because obviously they kind of are forced to veto certain maps and the Zerg has a bit more freedom, but it's going to get rid of the more extreme cases of a certain map being really unfair or a certain strategy on a certain map being really unfair. And I remember being like, well, that's genius. Why haven't we done this? And since then, I've asked for it many times. Rotterdam has many times. And there's never been an answer to this. And instead, we watched this Grand Finals, World Championship. Rogue destroyed Neeb. And some people, I remember going, well, he didn't do it versus Trap. He only did it one game in a best of 5 versus Trap. The reason is, the series versus Trap, after that series versus Neeb, Trap was like, well, I can't play macro because he's just going to Nidus Swarm host me. So Trap literally all-in'd him, pretty much every game. He did some sort of Immortal 2-base push in 2 or 3 of the games, and Rogue just held on with Ravages and won. Because Rogue felt forced to all-in. The one game where he didn't all-in, or he wasn't able to put on enough pressure, and Rogue does the Nidus Swarm host on Disco Bloodbath, and just complete free win. Now, thankfully, this did build the legacy of a player who we all know and love. You guys know who it is, Classic. Everyone was in the quarterfinals. Classic played Rogue, and he managed to catch him with a few timing attacks. And everyone was cheering for Classic because as much as Rogue, you respect him. He did what he had to do to win. People just didn't want to see him win with a strategy that was clearly so favored. So Classic came in here with a big brain mass Blink Dark Templar strategy. It looked like a failed DT build up to this point. But then he comes in, he has an observer on the high ground, he blinks up the ledge when DT Blink finishes, hides in the side of the main until Blink's ready, And then if we fast forward a few seconds, he's like, oh no, you canceled my third. Oh, runs in, kills the lair. Beautiful move. Blinks away in a moment, and then he recalls the Dark Templar and gets out of there. And this is just such a cool play. So many people in the world love Classic for this because Rogue kind of just became the bad guy because he was doing the strategy the community was seeing as too easy and not that much fun to watch, right? And it was like, yeah, he stopped him. But then even in the finals, Dark ended up using Nidus Swarmhost against Reina in his EVZ finals anyway. But it was a big stain on this World Championship 2019 because of the fact that Nidus Swarmhost was very overpowered, especially against Protoss at the time. All right, guys, so that sums up our first reason for why 9 map pools are good, is because it diminishes the effect of imbalance in scenarios like that last one, right? It makes that less extreme. Here is another example and another good reason. This map is Core Hole Carnage Knockout. This was on the ladder for a season. A lot of people forget it because they all vetoed it. They didn't play it. For those who don't know, I think they might have fixed it here for the finals, but you could spawn right there or down here, I believe, where you're only separated from each other by 1 destructible rocks, and your like third base is basically next to their main. There are destructible rocks, like 500 sets of them on this match. You can collapse rocks to block off the path to each other. It is the strangest, most bizarre, crazy designed map, and that in itself is not bad. Crazy maps are really fun. They're hard to play, but they're very fun to watch. The problem is, it's so variable in what happens, and the pros just veto it. And then one side's maybe a bit favored in it, so they don't veto it, but their opponents always veto it, so they don't play it. And then you get to a grand finals, best of 7 here, WCS Austin 2017. Nurture and Showtime get to the 7th map, and of course, there's only 1 map left. There's no vetoes in a best of 7. And the only time the really bad crazy maps, or the really wild, or the really crazy, or the really bad maps got played is in this final game 7 of a grand finals. And you can see the problem with that immediately, because the players haven't practiced it. They didn't know they were going to be in the grand final. Or maybe this is Tours, says Eon Blue. Was this Tours? It was Spring Championship. Maybe it was Tours, actually. Oh, it was actually 2016, sorry. 2016, not 2017. I might have the tournament wrong. You guys can fact check that. Thank you, Eon Blue. Apparently, it might have been Tours in France. So, this was just a disaster because the players had barely practiced the map. And you end up seeing a map which we would love to see in the earlier rounds of tournaments, and the players play it and practice it and how they innovate. But you don't want to see it as the deciding game in the grand finals of a championship, where it is almost always decided by silly mistakes, because the players are simply not that practiced on it. You've also got a crazy high variance map, and people say, well, why don't the players play for it? Why don't they practice more for it? And they do practice it a little bit, but it's just how much practice are you going to put to, if I make it to the grand finals and it goes 3-3 and we get to game 7, I need to be ready for that one map. Not a lot of practice time goes towards that preparation. It just makes sense. That's such a low return on investment. It only helps you once you get to game 7 of a grand finals. So this was just really crappy seeing grand finals decided on this. This was, of course, early Legacy, I believe, this one, because actually, was this late Heart of the Swarm? This is late Heart of the Swarm or early... No, this was Legacy of the Void. This was early Legacy. First year of Legacy of the Void, guys. The other one, guys, is 2014 in Taipei. We saw Maru vs. Life Game 7, and they had to play Inferno Pools, a map which no one's ever played. And Maru didn't realize you need like 5 buildings to wall off this ramp. He did screw up. Don't get me wrong. Maru screwed up. It was Maru's fault. Life played better than him. Life beat him fair and square. The problem is, do we like seeing Game 7 of a grand finals decided because he friggin' screwed up his wall off and made a dumb mistake? This is what I'm talking about in terms of there's dumb mistakes that decide grand finals, and it sucks to watch. It's an anti-hype moment. People were so excited at the time because people just love Life and they wanted to see him win. Maru wasn't as much of a fan favorite back then. Life was the people's hero. Everybody loved him. Everyone thought Terran was stronger than Zerg, so everyone really liked to get behind Life. But at the end of the day, it's a shitty way for a grand finals to finish. All right, so at the end of the day, basically, those are the 2 big points that I have. The other one is just variety. If you want crazy maps in here, but if you just want more variety, having 9 maps is just better. Like, it is so amazing that we're having this, that the intern at Blizzard has just decided to press the button and go, like, click, and we're gonna have, like, I'm so excited for this next season. You can put crazier maps in there without people going, oh no, that's gonna ruin a tournament. Because there's more vetoes available, you know? It's gonna add more variety. It's going to keep the ladder more fresh for longer. I think we could have 11 or 13 maps. Like, the more maps, the better in my mind. I would rather it be even more choices for the players. I also think vetoes is actually going to become meaningful in tournaments. At the moment, like, sometimes when we're casting and they put up the graphic for the vetoes, we don't even talk about it because it's just not that exciting. When I watch Dota vetoes on Heroes, Age of Empires vetoes on Civs, I'm really invested in like what the vetoing process is, because you're thinking about the strategy and the mindset of the players as they do the veto process. In StarCraft, it's like occasionally we see something special, but usually it's like, yeah, Terran vetoes this against Zerg, Protoss vetoes this against Zerg, Protoss vetoes this against Terran. It's very, the same thing over and over again. And one player always vetoes this map, another player always vetoes that map. It's just not that interesting. It's going to add more interest for viewership, but also for people playing on the ladder and the players as well. This is such a simple change. I honestly can't believe there was a barrier to this whole time. I don't know why this didn't go through years ago. This just makes StarCraft better. Thank you so much, Blizzard intern. You are the best. Thank you so much for living in that broom closet unpaid and keeping our game alive. Of course, big thanks whoever made this happen out there. Other people as well. Thank you so much. I'm really excited. You guys and girls, let me know if you're excited as well. I guess we can actually take a very quick look at the maps. So there's 3 new maps. They took out Black Lotus out of that list. By the way, this was a really cool map. It was really fun, really crazy, guys. Oh, apparently there's no picture of it anymore. It was the kind of ice map, guys. Does this have a picture? I mean, there's some pictures there. I just don't know why they removed. Okay, they've removed the picture. Essentially, it had like ice wall-offs and cliffs and stuff. It was a really weird map. They got rid of that and they've replaced it with Equilibrium, and they've added another map that we can't say. So Equilibrium is a good name. This is a side spawn map. It looks, yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm not usually a big fan of these kind of side spawn maps because almost all the fighting tends to happen in these areas. But it's not bad to have them mixed in. It does definitely freshen things up. And you've got a gold base with a rich gas base down here and down here that are very exposed, which is cool. So it looks pretty decent. Looks like it'll definitely give us a bit of variety, whereas we don't have any maps like this in the current pool. Now, the next map, what the hell does that even say? Like, is that even a word? Is this just map makers trolling me? How is a caster going to say this when we're casting all day? Like, someone explain this. Alcyone, designated Centauri, is a star in the constellation of Taurus, approximately 440 light years from the sun. Okay, it's a goddess, right? It's a Greek goddess. Alcyone.
Looking at Julian's pronounce better in the word, but you're looking forward to how to pronounce this name as well as a name stated. For reference in Greek, this is said as Alcyone.
Alcyone.
But in English,
Alcyone. He said it's Alcyone, but it's more commonly pronounced as Alcyone. So that's fine. Alcyone. Okay, guys. Alcyone or Alcyone. I'll say Alcyone. I'll trust him. All right, we've got a top right, bottom left spawn. You got some destructible rocks, high ground, low ground dynamics, exposed corner bases with purple gases in the top left, very exposed gold bases with a single gas and a destructible rocks in the middle. I like it. Looks solid. Without going too in depth, this looks pretty cool. Looks like a pretty solid map. Finally, we've got Radhuset Station, which has a gigantic set of destructible rocks there. I don't know if that's like a single rock or lots of little rocks you have to break down to get through. But otherwise, this one, you've got an in-base, but it looks like the in-base has to get mined out. What the hell is Radhuset, by the way, as well? What does that even mean? Radhuset. Radhuset Metro Station is a rapid transit station in Kungsholmen in central Stockholm. It's a Stockholm train station. Fuck yeah. I'm searching for the map. It's not coming up. That sucks. It means townhouse in Swedish. Ah, okay. Townhouse. Cute. The last E in Alcyone is silent. It's just Alcyone. Are you guys saying it's not Alcyone? Because didn't the guy say Alcyone in the video? Or did Julian say it wrong on YouTube? The rocks have one shared hit point pool. I literally can't get on the map, guys. That's crazy. All right, maybe I'll just try searching up again. I don't want to say, I mean, I can scroll through like 1,000 TLFC maps, right? It should be on EU. We called it Alcyone in the astrophysics community, says Emberk. Alcyon, even. You guys say Alcyon. You telling me Julian was saying it wrong? Alcyon? I think Alcyon sounds good. I'm gonna call it Alcyon if that's okay. So anyway, that looks like minerals. Do we know that? Does anyone know the value on these minerals, by the way, guys? I might have to go to EU. I'm gonna hop over to EU. The maps should be up there. 10. And it's just, is it 2 patches of 10 Scarlet? Looks like 2 patches, right? So essentially it's an in-base that's not going to take too long to mine out. It's like a very easy to take third. And it's got a pretty easy to defend entrance, even once the rocks are down. Like, that's pretty easy to defend. Is this giving you King Sejong vibes, Scarlet? It's giving me King Sejong vibes, like just with these bases, right? The corner of the map is just King Sejong Station. The middle is different, but the corner is King Sejong Station. Yeah, they actually reskinned King Sejong Station with the corners, and then they changed up all the rest of it. I don't mind that. A lot of map makers do this. They'll take something. That's really cool. The natural looks pretty swarm host vulnerable. Yeah, it's King Sejong Station. It's vulnerable to a lot of things. But I like that. It's exciting. That's very exciting. Show me your Radhuset. Show me your townhouse, Swedish boys. Show me. To be fair, because it's on EU, it'll probably take like 3 minutes to come up anyway. That's the way Battle.net works if you're from far away. Okay, guys, so just to finish up, essentially this is one shared hit point pool on these rocks. You've got 10 minerals on 2 different patches there that you have to mine out before you can take the nice kind of in-base third. And basically this whole corner looks a lot like King Sejong Station. So it's a very cool, funky map, definitely spicy. You've got like, you can do crazy, like put tanks there and drop marines on the high ground. You can hit this with swarmers. There's just a lot of weird, crazy options that'll open up. You've also got a lot of space inside the main base as well to hit with like Nidus worms, and you can come in from multiple angles with drops. So I really like this kind of, you know, awkward, exposed, natural, and easier to take kind of 3rd and 4th base design. The middle of the map is quite different to King Sejong Station from my memory at least. But overall, yeah, it looks like you've got like a little watchtower up there and there. So you got these actually pretty important watchtowers, I'd say. They give pretty damn good vision. I don't think there's any like rich anything bases on this map, but once again, oh, there's a gold base right there. Very exposed gold bases on the low ground there and there. Okay, no worries. Sorry, I know my cursor is very small, by the way, so apologies if you're struggling to follow. And that's it. I think these all look cool, and most importantly, this map's a little bit wild. Alkion apparently is how the astronomical community pronounce it, guys. Looks pretty decent. Equilibrium looks pretty decent, and all in all, just more maps is better. And I think this is going to give us way more creativity to experiment. We're going to have so much more creativity to use crazy maps. I think this is a massive bonus. It should have happened earlier. Thank you so much, Blizzard Intern. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know your thoughts below. Oh, and just before I go, guys, I am chasing up. I'm basically, these are not finalized, so I've already been sending messages, passing on comments I've seen from people about the team game maps and how they should be using TLMC maps. So I've already passed this on to the people who are in the know, saying, hey guys, can't we just use TLMC maps? The community seems very passionate about this. I don't know much about team game maps at all. So we've already passed that info on, as well as I know there was a few map makers who were like, oh, one of these maps is my map, but it's still bugged. And they've already been passing on the maps to the ESL admins and stuff like that. So they've been putting the non-bugged versions in. But I'm really hoping if any of these maps do suck as much as it seems like people on Reddit and elsewhere are saying, that does get fixed. So make sure you guys are all posting and sharing and kind of tweet at me and comment with maps that you think are better maps. Whichever maps of these you think are not up to par, let us know, and let me know which maps you would suggest replace them. That just makes it really easy for people like me who doesn't know much about this to copy paste people's messages and share it with people in the know. I hope we can get that through. We still don't know when the patch is dropping. I would guess it's at least a few weeks out. It could be more than that. I have no idea. I'm just hoping personally that it ends up hitting before Atlanta, which is in December, and it's kind of mid to late December. So we've still got a lot of time until, I would imagine that's probably the deadline for when the patch is going to hit. That's still a few months out. All right, guys, I'm excited. Get hyped. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye and good night.